Hello and welcome back to Spin and Fanimation. I am your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Preacher, Season 4, Episode 9, Overture. This is the penultimate episode for the season and series finale, which is next week. So before I get into all this stuff, let me go through a little bit of business. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button. I just ask you to go down in the comment section. Tell me what it is you don't like about the show. Also, if you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell. If you've already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bell settings, get as many or as little notifications as you want. Otherwise, you can go and take a look at my suspendedfanimation.com, my website there, and you can see the schedule up there as well. Excuse me. I also have that mirrored over my Facebook page. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page as well. So I don't have any tiers set up yet on the Patreon page. So there we go. Let's get started. Not a bad episode, quite honestly. So let's see here. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. Yes. All right. So we see Jesse in the bathroom, admiring his eye hole that he's got now and putting on an eye patch, while Tulip and Cass are inside the room, and they're kind of debating. Cass is debating whether or not to tell Jesse that they slept together. And as soon as Jesse comes out of the bathroom, Tulip just blurts it out, they slept together. And he's like, she goes, you were gone, you were dead. That's why we did it. Everything's fine. If you need to freak out, you're going to freak out. That's fine. And he goes, no, everything's good. I'm fine. I love you both, kind of thing. And everything's good. And they go, okay, well, we're going to go get Humperdew and stop the apocalypse from happening. So, yeah, he's like, all right, sure. He's kind of in. He's kind of in a daze a little bit because remember, he's been in hell being tortured all this time with all this stuff. And also being tempted by the angels, and then also what happened to God with him and all that stuff. So yeah, he's a little bit on the spacey side, shall we say. So we see Humperdew getting cleaned up and dressed, and he starts walking through these crowds of people in the Grail, and they're all trying to touch him. And Featherstone's leading the group of people that are protecting him as they're walking through the crowd. And it's kind of funny. This old man comes up and asks, Humperdew to bless him. And as Humperdew is putting his hands on him, Featherstone just comes up and just fucking side kicks him and drop kicks the old man straight into the crowd again. And they keep bringing Humperdew through. And we see, he comes into the meeting area where Hitler and Jesus have basically been laying out the whole thing for the apocalypse, and grabs a cupcake and smears it on Jesus's robe. And the people that are there to see Humperdew ask for a picture, and Jesus like, yeah, sure. And like, no, we want a picture with him, with Humperdew. And so they give the phone to Humperdew to take pictures. And yeah, basically they're forsaking Jesus at this point in order to take pictures of take selfies with Humperdew. And we see the Grail is setting up this whole stage production. I mean, they have dancers and all this stuff. And as they are moving Humperdew through the backstage area, we see all these actors and performers and stuff like that getting ready. And Featherstone leads him straight back into a dressing room and shuts the door. And who is there but God? God's sitting there, and he's like, hello, my boy. How you doing? Kind of thing. So Jesse, in the meantime, is outside. He goes outside of the hotel there. We can still hear fighting happening in the hotel, and we'll get to that fighting in a little bit here. So Jesse tries using the voice to get the saint to appear with no luck. And Jesse's like, really? All this time that I didn't want you to come when I used the voice, and here you go. You're not showing up now. So Tulip, they're getting ready to leave the hotel room, and Tulip has a really good feeling about what they're about to do. And, Jesse, Cass tells Jesse about, them sleeping together, and goes, I'm really still kind of worried about it. And, Jesse's like, it's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine. He goes, I was gone, but now I'm back. And we find out what the fighting is. The fighting is still the angel and the demon. The angel and the demon are still fighting and killing each other and coming back, fighting and killing each other, coming back. And the barkeeper has basically been dragging the dead bodies out inside and piling them up. And that is going to be their ride over to Masada in order to get to Humperdew, is the angel and the demon. And they're like, hey, can you guys stop? We need to stop the apocalypse. So you guys want to help, kind of thing. And you see the guy actually light the entire pile of bodies on fire and all that stuff that are sitting there, the angels and demon bodies that are sitting there. So the police chief, who was Hoover 2's boss, real boss, is watching TV, and we see that morning news show. The one guy who was telling people that the world's going to hell in a handbasket, he shoots, he starts shooting at the other two people that are his co-hosts, and we see, pandemonium happening, and he switches the channel, and he's like, yeah, whatever, violence on TV, and we see a little thing that says the Apocalypse 2020 show, and it's Hair Star, and Hair Star says that when the clock reaches 0, which looks like it's going to be in about an hour, that the Messiah will dance and the world will end, and that'll be it. And in the meantime, we see Cass, Tulip, and Jesse have all arrived at Masada, and the angel and the demon pat Jesse on the back, and they say, take care of our kid. Take good care of him. So yeah, of their son. So God is in the dressing room still with Humperdew and the hairdresser, and he's basically just kind of pouring out the hairdresser. He's like, yeah, I know all, I see all. He goes, and Abel's telling me, but it's my brother, man, I can't do it. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I know what's going to happen. He should listen to me. And we get a knock at the door, and it's actually Jesus and Hitler. And God opens up this little tiny sliding thing that he could look out at. And Jesus is like, yeah, I just want to say, good luck on the show. And God's like, okay, thanks. And he goes, and I brought you something. And he's brought some flowers. And God won't open the door still. So Jesus stuffs the flowers through the eye hole thing there. And then Hitler's like, one more thing. And Jesus is like, oh, yeah. Hey, Dad, I want you to watch something. And God's like, okay. And we get Jesus's breakdance routine to It's Tricky again. And God's like, oh, that's nice. And he shuts the eye hole again. And he's done. Yeah. So in the meantime, the hairdresser accidentally nicks Humperdew, frightening him and also hurting him. She's like, oh, it's okay. I just a little nick. You're okay. And God overreacts and goes, yeah, how's this for little? And kind of throws her through the wall, killing her. And says, nobody's going to hurt you. No one's going to, scare you, my little boy. That's what he says. And he goes, everything's going to be okay. So we get Cass, Jesse, and Tulip beating the shit out of Grail agents to gospel music. And Jesse, Cass disappears because they're like, where the hell's Cass? Like, I don't know. And then Jesse and Tulip are walking together. And Jesse tells Tulip, he goes, so just so we're on the same page, this isn't a rescue mission, right? When it comes down to it, we got to finish business here. Yeah. And they find Cass again, and Cass just pokes his head around the corner and goes, come on, you got to take a look at this. And they go into the empty chamber, and there's nobody there. They can hear a whole bunch of people, but it's empty. And they look up, and they're like, where the hell is everybody? And they see this gigantic stained glass sculpture of Humperdew's face, and everyone is upstairs. So they need to go upstairs at this point. Yeah. And then Cass disappears again. So they're like, yeah, all right, fuck it. In the meantime, Eugene is in prison trying to sing It's Closing Time using that guitar that he has. And a priest comes by, letting him know, oh, you're getting out tomorrow, kind of thing. And he says, I just wanted to ask, what do you think God's plan was for you? And for someone like you, do you think maybe it was to put someone off their appetite or to be a warning lesson, something like that? And Eugene's like, I don't know, really. And the priest guy says, well, maybe there wasn't a plan for you. Maybe he just didn't have any plan at all for you. And they're releasing Eugene, by the way, because they couldn't find any pieces of Jesse in his poo. Yeah, as he puts it. Which, yeah, it's all. So Jesse and Tulip, in the meantime, are looking for Cass, and God actually has him. God has captured Cass around one of the corners, and he is tempting Cass. Basically, tells him he can have a gigantic mountain of coke, or he can have Tulip, or he can have his heart's deepest desire and go back to Ireland and live that life that he was wanted to have in the first place. He can have a second life. And God kind of shows him this and then says, you know what? All you have to do is one little thing, and this can all be yours, kind of thing. And we want to know what that one little thing is, but we don't know what it is as of yet. So Jesse and Tulip are in the elevator, and Jesse's worried about Cass, and Tulip's trying to tell him, you know, Cass will be okay. He's gotten a whole bunch of shit that's happened before. So, you know, and the elevator stops, and Jesse's like, it's God. And Tulip says, no, it's not God. And he goes, yeah, it is. I can tell. I've been around him enough. I know it's him. And Jesse says, you know, this whole time when he was, you know, ripping out my eye with his teeth, he goes, I never even thought about using the voice on him. I didn't think about using the power on to stop him. And you know, Tulip kind of interrupts and says, hey, I read the letter. And she goes, I'm kind of sorry I burned it. And he goes, you burned it? She goes, well, I was burning down a church, you know, and I needed something to light it up with. And yeah. So Tulip ends up climbing out of the elevator, and you know, he tells her to be careful, and she goes, well, I'm not afraid of him. And he goes, well, you should be. And she goes, yeah, but I'm not. So she's not afraid of God at this point. So Featherstone is with Hairstar, and she realizes that this is it. This is pretty much it. They're going to die. It's the apocalypse. And she goes, you know, once it reaches 0, we're done. And you know, Hairstar goes, no, don't worry about it. Take a break. He goes, God's in control right now. He's taking care of security. He goes, you deserve it. Take a little bit of a break. And then he notices Featherstone. He goes, you're rather a handsome woman, and I am a very attractive man. And you hear music playing and all this stuff, and yeah, they're gonna get a little bit busy there. That's what's gonna happen. So Cass is telling God, basically he's having a conversation with God and telling God what a dick he is, you know, and also uh, his plans are a little bit screwy, putting testicles where he put them, and you know, giving kids cancer, and making dogs die from eating chocolate, all that kind of stuff. And then he basically goes, you know, you're a homicide, you're a goddamn homicidal maniac, is what he says. And God's like, you know, um, that he says, Cass, you know, did he think that that she would ever love him without any kind of divine intervention? And you know, he also thinks that Cass is a tired little boy that just wants to go home. And Cass just starts to cry at this point. Yeah. So the show is still going on. You know, we still see the show going on, the Apocalypse show, Apocalypse 2020 show. And Hairstar and Featherstone are in bed, and she's got the sheet pulled up to her chest here, and she goes, well, maybe we have time for one more go before the Messiah gets on stage and dances. And he goes, oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you, kind of thing. You're a Randy. Basically he's telling her that she's hasn't had enough of him, kind of thing. And she goes, well, we won't be able to when we're in heaven. And he goes, no, this is going to be a limited exchange. We're not doing the full-on apocalypse. We're not wiping everything out. She goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I gave the plans to Hoover too, to pass along. So that's what he had in his hands when Featherstone killed Hoover 2, was the plans to do a limited nuclear release, not just everybody. And she pulls down the sheets, and we see that she's got her full suit on still, even though they supposedly had sex. And you know, Hairstar is naked. And she goes, well, what do you mean? She goes, I don't think that happened, kind of thing. And Hairstar's getting out of bed. He's like, ah, shit, got to take care of it myself, kind of thing. And then he says, "What makes you think that you're going to go into heaven anyway, especially with what you've done?" And he points down, and she's got a strap-on fist, latex fist on her, because Hairstar is into the other stuff now, is what's going on. And she realizes that she's pretty much been defiled so that she can no longer enter heaven, kind of thing, which kind of upsets her. And at one point, he actually tells her to stop being one of those, one of those crazy religious freaks. And she even asks him, "Why did you join the Grail in the first place?" And he says, "For power, for women, uh, basically to all the trappings of power, essentially, not for anything religious or godly or anything like that. It was mainly all for power." So yeah, he's not doing it altruistically. Yeah, that was quite an image, Pen. I agree with you. Yeah. So Tulip ends up reaching the top of the elevator shaft, only to find God waiting for her and telling her, "Come on, hurry it up," or not, whatever you want to do. And he walks away, and she's like, "Fuck." She gets up there. Jesus and Hitler, in the meantime, are sitting there drinking, talking about their plan. And Jesus is like, "I'm not a murderer." And Hitler says, "But I am. Everything's good," because they're talking about killing Humperdoo at this point and replacing him with Jesus. So God brings Tulip into a room, and there's a guy that's sitting there. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not up there enjoying the show. I just needed to do, I wanted to do one thing first." And God doesn't care, brushes him aside and kills him, slams him into the wall. And he tells Tulip to sit down. And yeah, that he wants to fight, is what he wants to do. And that's really what he wants to do with her. She asks him what he wants, and he says, "I want to fight." So Jesse's still in the elevator, and he's calling for Tulip, and she's not answering back. And he finally used the voice to call for help again from the saint. And we see out in the wilderness, nothing, still just reverberating his voice. So Tulip tells God she doesn't want to fight him. That she's just, she's good. She doesn't need to fight him. And he tells her, "You know what?" He goes, "I'll make you a deal. If I can get that famous temper of yours up in 60 seconds," and he has a timer, he goes, "I'll call off the entire apocalypse. I won't kill Jesse, anything like that. Everything will be good." And he starts the timer, and then he just starts calling her names and stuff like that. And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then about the 35-second mark, he ends up talking about Dallas. And he says, "What about Dallas and losing your daughter?" And he goes, "Did you ever want to know the reason for that? What her death was all about?" And he goes, didn't that ever cross your mind what I thought about that? What I was, why I killed your daughter?" And then he goes, "Really, I can't remember." And she just stands up and just empties the gun into his head. And of course, nothing happens. And then the timer goes off. She only had 5 seconds left to go. That was it. 5 seconds left to go. And he brushes her aside, using his power. And, we hear as, she hits the wall. And he empties out a trash can, grabs a scissor, and we see blood start squirting off to the side of the screen where he has gone off to. Yeah. So Jesse, in the meantime, gets out of the elevator because the elevator starts working again, and he finds Cass in pieces, but Cass is still alive and tells him, "I said no, Jesse. I told him no. He tempted me, and I told him no." And Jesse's like, "You know what? We'll get you some blood. We'll get you back together again." He goes, "No, go find Humperdoo. End all of this." And Jesse, is telling him, everything will be all right. And Cass is like, "I kept telling God no until I said yes." And God knocks Jesse out using Cass's severed leg. And he tells Cass, he goes, you did good work." That was the one thing that he asked of Cass, by the way. And he's got a waste bucket full of blood, which he just pours into Cass's mouth. and then takes Jesse and drags him down the hallway, saying, "You know what? Back to work." So Eugene is out of prison. He's got his guitar case. He opens it up, throws a little bit of starter change inside of it, and is dreaming about rock stardom, about becoming a rock star and everything. And then just as he's about to play, a taxi cab hits him and kills him and runs him over. Yeah. So God takes Jesse into a chapel there, and they're sitting there, and Jesse's sitting in the pew in front of God, and he asks God what he wants, and God tells him, "I want what was taken from me. I want Genesis back, because it was something that was never supposed to be made, and I want it back." And Jesse's like, "Wait a minute, this is a power to rival your own, isn't it?" And God says, "Well, use it on me. Try and use it to command me. Do it." He goes, "Why don't you look at me?" And Jesse won't look at him, and so he throws him across the room and through the pews, and he goes, "You're right to fear me." He goes, he says, "Fear me like you should." And then we see Tulip wake up. She isn't dead. She was just knocked out. And the blood that he drained was the guy that was embedded in the wall that was in the room to begin with. And she's locked in the room. So she's trying to get out, of course, trying to shoot the door lock and all that kind of stuff. So Hitler wants to go in and kill Humperdew into the dressing room. And Jesus is like, "No, we're not going to do that." And Hitler, he finally asks, he goes, "Why do you want to kill Humperdew? Why is this?" He goes, "Because Humperdew is formidable. You aren't." He goes, "You I can defeat easily. Whereas Humperdew, I'll have a little bit of a problem with, because he's got divine backing kind of thing." And that's when Jesus is like, "Nope, you're not going to kill him." And Hitler takes a dive at Jesus, and they start to fight. Yeah. In the meantime, Harry Starr is trying to fax out the the rescind order on that, and he can't get the fax machine to work. He's actually on the phone with tech support, and tech support's asking, "Have you turned it on? Have you turned it off?" That kind of stuff. And he goes, "Listen," he goes, "unless you want to die now and your family dies and everyone else dies," he goes, "you better tell me how to fix this fucking thing now." And yeah, tech support, of course, tells him a little bit faster, but still not getting where he needs to go. We see Tulip end up getting released in the room by Featherstone, who has a gun. Cass is with Humperdew, and God wants Jesse to give him Genesis. And Jesse goes, "Wait a minute, why don't you just reach in and grab it?" And God tries to, and we see the whole chapel shake. And God says, "What have you done?" And the saint shows up, and the door opens up, and Jesse's like, "Oh, the saint, he's here for you." And God's like, "Oh yeah, I know the saint. Him and I, we go really, far back. William and I go back." And we see a picture. We see a flashback of the saint out in a field, and he's got his gun trained on God, and God's holding up the saint's daughter's little doll in front of him, and the saint can't kill him. And same thing, he still has a gun pointing at God, and he's not going to do it. And Jesse's telling him to kill God, and he won't. And God finally says, "He's not here for me. He's here for you." And he disappears. And that's where we leave off the episode. Yeah. So not bad. Again, a bit rushed, because they had a shitload of episodes. They could have told this story a little bit more spaced out, but they didn't. But yeah, at least it looks like they're gonna go out with a bang, so to speak. And we got some previews for next week's episode, the final episode of next week's episode. So yeah, that's it. Next week is the final episode. Yes. Yep. So, let's see. Mr. Roboto, what were you spewing out here? Yes, Hairstar is supposed to be human now. He's all put back together again. He is 100% got his looks back and all his parts back. And yes, he is the All Father as well. I got nothing more than that. Okay. So, next week, yes, we're gonna have the final episode. Nothing special, quite honestly. It's just gonna be the same song and dance that I normally do here. That's what I'm gonna be doing. So no giveaways, nothing like that, because I don't have anything for it. So yes, the previous All Father was gross, definitely. I thought they were bringing him back for some reason, but I guess not. They didn't. The previews before the season started made it seem like he was for some reason. I don't know why. Exactly, Pen. Yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's the way it's going. So, uh, yeah, Eugene could have been famous on the YouTubes. Exactly. Not unless he doesn't get 1,000 subscribers, then and then going up, he's got to go up from there. That's your first milestone. He's got to get 1,000. Yeah. Eugene's death was bleak. Yeah, it was, but I think there's something more to it. I don't know for sure. They could just leave it as that. They could have just said that it was just pointless. That like his life was supposed to be pointless, which would be a very bleak thing to do. Just kind of do it that way, which I could see them doing that as well. But I don't know. I think they're gonna. There's something more to it. It's Seth Rogen, so I mean, come on. Although who knows how much, uh, how much of his stuff he's still putting into this with the boys that was going on at the same time. So who knows? But yeah, some good stuff. Like I said, next week's the last episode. Tomorrow there's going to be nothing. I don't have anything going on in the schedule. Tuesday is it worth my time? And I don't know what I'm doing. Quite honestly, I still haven't figured out what I want to do. I might do Glow just because why not? It's ending anyway, so I don't have a fear of that at this point. And then Wednesday I'm off again. Thursday is another episode of Is It Worth My Time? I don't know what as that I'm going to do as of yet. Friday is Titans. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off, and again Sunday is going to be the final episode of Preacher. Yeah. The Boys has yet to go as far as Preacher. True, but Preacher was a different animal. It was. I take that back. The Boys has gone pretty. Yeah, the comic went pretty nasty in some points. Oh yeah, Disenchanted. Thank you, Penn. I forgot about that. So, thanks for reminding me, Penn. Tuesday is going to be Disenchanted. It's Is It Worth My Time? Disenchanted, and then Thursday will be Glow. How's that sound? Yeah, because I did finish Disenchanted. I just completely forgot about it. That was all. Yeah, I agree with you. The Boys season 2 will be fucking nuts. No, Mr. Roboto, I had nothing to do with Glow. I did not touch that one at all. I just mentioned that I liked the show, that I didn't review it, nothing like that. And yeah, it just happened on its own. Can't blame me on that one. Yeah, I forgot about it. Well, no, Penn, I've been doing a lot of stuff today, so I was doing some home improvement stuff. So, and it's also been really freaking hot here. It's like been freakishly hot for some reason today. Like right now, it's still 80 degrees, at near 9 o'clock at night, which it shouldn't be. I did not cancel Glow. Okay, you know what? I'm canceling Glow so Allison Brie can play She-Hulk. There you go, Mr. Roboto. That's the reason why I'm doing it. I have reasons. Yeah. So Allison Brie can play She-Hulk like she should be doing. I know you're kidding, Mr. Roboto. But that's my plan. That was my whole plan all along, was to get people to really like Glow so that they can. Will Jesse die again? Most likely. Who knows? We'll see how it all ends. Yeah, at this point, it's a crapshoot as to how they're going to end this thing. Even looking at the trailer for next week, I don't know where they're going with it. See you, Mr. Roboto. I couldn't tell you where they're going to go, how they're going to end this series. It, like I said, it could be a crapshoot, quite honestly. And honestly, how in the hell can you beat a being that has created everything and is supposed to know everything unless it's already their plan? Yeah, so I mean, Deus Ex Machina, as they say, which I probably pronounced wrong, but who knows? So, with that said, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, if you're still on the fence, there's going to be a video that pops up here. It's going to take a video from my vast video library based on all the stuff you've been watching, and it'll pluck one that's most similar to all that stuff out of my library. They're just there for you. Up here is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off, which was actually pretty good this week. Take a look at that. And other than that, I think I'm going to let you guys go for the evening. So I'm trying to get some, the AC down a bit more here because it's freaking hot, like I said. So thank you, everybody who joined me tonight in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video out there. And I will see you again on Tuesday. And until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that, you're going to get ripped apart by God anyway, just because even though you say no all this time, eventually you are going to say yes. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.